This tornado warning for Fairfield and Hocking County goes until 8:30 this evening. Not just the tornado threat, but also the possibility of some hail as it moves to the east. And what's the speed on that particular storm, Michael?
Storm's moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour.
So it's slowed down a little bit for some of its near neighbors earlier in the evening, but the direction has been consistent. So we're going to stay on as long as this tornado warning is active within the 10 TV viewing area. At this point, that goes until about 8:30. So if you are in locations southern Franklin County, around Bern, Lancaster, or heading over toward Bremen, or anywhere in between, possibly even Rushville, those are the things that we're looking at. Those are the locations that we're looking at for a possible tornado. We've talked about this, unfortunately, already a couple of times this spring. February and March, and now it's April. And what we're looking at right now on the radar scan is where we see the red and the green coming together. That's an indication inside the thunderstorm that it's rotating, and oftentimes that's a precursor to when that rotation reaches the ground and it could form a tornado. So if you're around Amanda, Lancaster, again, Bern, or further off toward the east around Bremen and Rushville, those are the locations that I'm encouraging you or urging you now, please. You had your opportunity to make a plan. This is one location that is under the threat of a tornado. Now's the time to put your plan in motion. A quick track on that storm for the next 20 or 30 minutes. Lancaster at 8:12, White's at 8:15, Junction City, if it makes it far enough, into 8:59 p.m. Again, a new tornado warning issued for Fairfield and Hocking County that goes until 8:30. And the reason is a radar indicated tornado could be impacting areas that we just mentioned, Lancaster, North Bern, and Junction City, and possibly New Lexington by 8:52. What I was getting at is that we've been through this a couple of times already this spring, and this winter actually. Do what you can to keep you and your family safe. Go to a safe place, take your phone with you. You watch the stream on the mobile app. You don't have to be connected to a television, and you want to simply put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you are in a mobile home, you want to try and get out and get to a sturdy structure, at the very least an interior room. If you are in a home that does not have a basement, you want to put as many walls between you and the exterior. Maybe that's an interior or bathroom or a hallway. If you do have a basement, you want to go to the basement immediately. Take your pets, take your shoes, take your flashlight, take your phone and a charger, and do it quick. You probably have those things already. We've been talking about the threat for severe weather for the past couple of days, and now, unfortunately, it's upon us. And that area we're watching right now, if you look at this outline in yellow, this literally is just the southern part of Fairfield County, centered around Lancaster and Bremen and Sugar Grove, and moving east at about 30 miles an hour. Right now, Somerset, New Lexington, and Salt Lake are not under the threat for this tornado, but if you are watching us this evening, you know that these warnings sometimes have a history of extending, so please be on guard in Perry County. But currently, this tornado warning is in effect for Fairfield County and goes until 8:30. So we've been watching and tracking the storms. Again, if you're just joining us, Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz, along with Michael Behrens, watching the weather. And what we saw over the past couple of scans, Michael, and I'm going to have to tag team you into the chroma key here, is some of these storms have been showing some rotation. This one in particular, no matter which vantage point we were looking at, was showing consistent rotation, and it looks like that's what prompted the National Weather Service to initiate that tornado warning.
Yeah, it wasn't just the one radar showing the one scan of rotation. Really, you take a totality of the different radar sources we have available to us here in Central Ohio, you put it together, and you can get a better idea of what's going on inside this thunderstorm. So again, that tornado warning in place for Fairfield County goes till 8:30 tonight for the rotating part of this thunderstorm that's been on the south side of this system here. We'll switch over again to the winds inside and off the Columbus radar. That's where you see the rotation heading pretty close to US 33 there. This is going to be moving close to, if not just through the southern side of Lancaster, if we do see a tornado form from this. If there's good news with this, it's not the tightest rotation we've ever seen on the radar there. The rotating storms that we saw a few weeks ago had some stronger signs of rotation with it, but inside the system, that cell is rotating and could quickly produce a tornado, the reason they've issued that tornado warning here this evening. I'll switch over to another couple of views here. We'll take the other radars. We'll go to Wilmington first and show you what we mean by up through the thunderstorm. This system's rotating. warning. This radar comes from a further away vantage point, so you're not going to see as close to the ground, but you are still going to see some of the same indications in this storm, where you have winds in one spot going toward the radar, winds in another spot going away from the radar. So this is rotation up inside of the thunderstorm, and a rotation getting closer to the surface when you look at the Columbus radar. We'll show you another view from over in West Virginia, the Charleston radar. Same idea. Again, you see those areas of rotation where you have one spot the wind coming toward the radar, and the other spot the wind going away from the radar. So you put all of these confirmation sources together, and that's why the reason we have the tornado warning being issued here this afternoon or this evening in Fairfield County. As far as the Columbus radar, the tightest spot on it, again, we're watching that very carefully down there toward the Lancaster area, and still seeing some signs that this certainly could be rotating out there this evening. We'll take a closer look in toward Lancaster right now. And again, this would be the spot to be concerned with right now. That's going to be traveling just to the east of US 33, north of US 22. See if I can get a couple more roads here. If we get just a little bit closer in here. Not looking like it's going to give me them, but that's Ohio 188, Jerry.
So we've got a new tornado warning for southeastern Licking County. And Michael, as you were diagnosing those storms, it appears to be two areas of rotation, one of which was just west of Lancaster, but another was just west of Pleasantville and Baltimore. That's the cell, I believe, is the warned one right now. Some tight rotation just northeast of Carroll. And I'm picking that up on the Doppler weather radar out of the John Glenn Airport area. That's the additional tornado warning. This one also goes until 8:30. Tornado warning for southeastern Licking County, tornado and quarter-size hail. This includes Harbor Hills. This storm is moving east at about 35 miles an hour. Locations could include Heath, Grayshot, Brownsville, and Toboso. And that's something, again, that's just into the Doppler 10 Weather Center.
Yeah, that one definitely, Jerry, looking much more concerning than what we see down toward Lancaster. That one here, you can really see that rotation sort of wrapping into that storm in southern portions of Licking County, moving off toward the east, eventually toward Hopewell. This is just north of I-70. Jerry, how fast did you say that one was moving?
35 miles an hour east.
35 miles per hour to the east. So we'll zoom out here and we'll put the storm track on this particular portion of the system as well. So that sign right there south of Newark, you can really just see the twist across the entirety of the radar data. So that is going to be a much more dangerous storm, I would think, from what we're seeing down in portions of Fairfield County versus what we're seeing up in portions of Licking County. We'll track that off to the east, again, about 35 miles per hour. That's going to be in Gratiot by 8:15, Hopewell by 8:19, Dillon Falls by 8:29, and Zanesville by 8:33. That part of rotation there, Jerry, not looking like it's something to mess around with here this evening.
No, I'm going to hop in for a second and have you drive. But one thing I wanted to mention, too, is that we're switching over from National Weather Service offices. And that doesn't mean a whole lot to the folks at home, but it does mean that we're seeing some coordination. And we're watching these small spin-up cells begin to rotate and actually produce the threat for a tornado. This is important because this cell is moving east toward Muskingum County. And as you mentioned, around Zanesville at 8:33, that's then being picked up by the National Weather Service office out of Pittsburgh. That warning for Muskingum County is until 8:45, extending further beyond that particular one in Licking County. But just know, at the current time, there are two tornado warnings for Central Ohio, Licking County and Fairfield County. Both of those go until 8:30. Muskingum County, that goes until 8:45. So what we're looking at, again, really focusing on the area where we're seeing that black outline with some of the yellow. That's where we're seeing, again, focusing this very, very tight circulation. And Michael, this popped up literally in minutes. We were watching the scan-by-scan approach of the storm, really focusing on Fairfield County. And just a moment ago, as that tornado warning was issued, we saw this, what we call this a couplet. Now, we're not dismissing the threat in and around Fairfield County. We're still seeing some rotation just north of Lancaster, but we're also looking at the potential here, I think, maybe a greater threat in the southeastern corner of Licking County and then moving to the east.
Yeah, I'm clearing off some of the data here except the tornado warnings right now. So all you see on the map at the moment are the tornado warnings. And we do have, talking to that coordination, a new tornado warning issued from the Pittsburgh office as well, as they're picking that storm up coming into Muskingum County. That is going to be for Muskingum County until 8:45 here tonight. National Weather Service Doppler radar indicated tornado pushing off to the east now at about 45 miles per hour. And again, the rotating signs in that storm very strong here this evening, especially compared to just anything that we've seen in central Ohio so far. We don't want to forget about the storm down in Fairfield County. It does appear to be some rotation working through the Lancaster area right now. This doesn't seem as tight to me as what is pushing up toward Licking County, but if you are over toward North Bern, if you're in Lancaster, if you're along US 22 out toward Ohio 664, do take shelter from this storm as well. But I think that threat up in Licking County is going to be the main focus here as we watch over the next hour or so as these tornado warnings continue here this evening. Very strong signs of rotation traveling just north of US 40 out there in Licking County. This is going to be working its way over Brownsville Road, southeast Brownsville Road as we speak. This is going to travel just north of Gratiot, likely probably south, if not a little slightly closer to Cottage Hill, moving north of Hopewell, and then off into Muskingum County. That's going to be heading over to the Drake area, Ellis, north of Zanesville, all areas that could see potential impacts from this rotating thunderstorm as it pushes out of portions of Licking County into Muskingum County here very shortly. Again, the area of biggest concern traveling right now through Brownsville Road. We're looking at this from the airport radar from Columbus, so we're getting pretty frequent updates on the rotating portion of this thunderstorm, but it's not quite the same radars that we have from the National Weather Service. So I do want to take a few views from their radars as well. This is the Pittsburgh radar. We're a little far away, so you can see up into the storm rotating all throughout that portion of the storm. And I want to just try to get the best view I can here that's not quite on the Columbus radar, just so we can see if we can find any signs of confirmation inside this storm. So we'll turn the Columbus radar off there. Looks like Wilmington's still going to be our best bet, and then we'll switch over inside that storm. We talk about the debris potential. That's a sign that you could see something confirmed. Not seeing anything on the radar right now. If we were to see something confirmed or more likely toward to be debris, we would not see these big broad areas of red. You would see what looks like a little ball or a little circle in here, and we're not seeing that at the moment. So that's at least some positive news looking at this system, but we go back to that velocity or the wind data inside the storm, and that is just a really rotating portion of the storm heading into eastern Licking County, working its way toward Muskingum County here this evening.
So, Michael, if we can go back to just a standard radar perspective and just step back from the diagnosis for a second and just maybe what people are familiar with seeing, where you're seeing the darker reds and the oranges and the lightning, that's obviously drawing your concern. We're looking at the threat for severe weather right now at the moment at 8:14 p.m., shifting east and south of Columbus with multiple severe thunderstorm warnings and at least 2 tornado warnings in effect. Not to discount what's coming later on tonight, but I think this is going to be the main threat for the next 1 to 2 hours. So we've got 2 tornado warnings right now. One just north and east of Lancaster. This storm cell was moving east at about 30 miles an hour. Then the other tornado warning, that was moving out of Licking County over toward Muskingum County. And we're going to cover that one until 8:45 if necessary. That storm, I believe, was at 35 miles an hour. So if we can put a track maybe on each one of those storms, Michael, and just draw it out for those particular speeds, just to give folks an idea that are in the path. So if I talk about your city or your town, that's certainly an opportunity for you to take cover immediately. Zanesville at 8:30, that's 15 minutes. Pleasant Grove at 8:33. Adamsville 8:40, then Cambridge at 9 o'clock. Down to the south, then, we're looking at the other particular storm. This one has the opportunity. Bremen at 8:24, Junction City 8:35. Now we're getting into Perry County, New Lexington 8:43, Crooksville 8:54, and then over toward Alabama Hill at 8:59. So those are the 2 tornado warnings right now. If we look at, or if you heard me mention your town or your city, or if you know somebody that lives, they might not be watching 10 TV, give them a call. Tell them to seek shelter. And we reviewed it before, but we're going to review it again just very quickly, that if you live in a mobile home, you want to seek shelter immediately. If you can't seek shelter immediately, the one thing to keep in mind always, put as many walls between you and the tornado as possible. An interior room, a hallway, a closet, a bathroom. If you live in a structure that has a basement, clearly you want to go to the basement. Don't forget to take your power cord, your battery pack, your pets, any important papers, and of course, anybody you need with you, get to safety immediately. If you live in an apartment building or a multi-level structure, or if you're on the second floor, again, lowest floor and as many walls as you can are the very simple keys to be safe and keep yourself safe during a tornado. Right now, if you're just joining us on 10 TV, we're looking at 2 distinct tornado warnings. One right now just carving out the extreme southeastern corner of Licking County, then moving into Muskegon County. That one until 8:45. The southernmost tornado warning right now impacting areas just north and east of Lancaster. That just clips northern Hocking County, but goes to the Fairfield County line. That is set to expire in about 13 minutes. Michael?
Grab you real quick here, Jerry. If you're watching us on 10 TV Plus throughout the evening, we are tracking that storm that was heading toward Pike County, now extreme southern portions of the 10 TV viewing area, also with a tornado warning. Pike County under a tornado warning, now southern side of the viewing area. That's going to go until 8:45 as well for a tornado that's going to be working its way, radar detected tornado that's going to be working its way off toward the east at around 45 miles per hour. We'll put some of the additional information on here for you this evening too, and track that rotating portion of this storm as well. Really seeing these storms kick up in intensity here over the last 30 minutes or so, seeing more and more rotating portions of these thunderstorms, and we're seeing pretty good area of rotation right now just to the south of Pike County. So that's going to be moving off again toward the east at about 45 miles per hour. We'll give ourselves just a little space here so we can put the storm track on that portion of the storm, tracking off again toward the east at 45 miles per hour. This is going to be the southern side of Pike County. That's going to be in camp at 8:21, 8:27 Clifford, Cockrell Run at 8:30, and Germany at 8:36. This is not going to be in Pike County for long before exiting the 10 TV viewing area, but if you are on the southern side of Pike County, this is certainly another storm to take very seriously as we move through the next 30 minutes here or so, as that warning goes till 8:45. You can see that area of rotation in there. Again, switching between the different radars here. We'll lock in the Charleston radar, has kind of the best view of what we're looking at on this particular portion of the storm. That's going to be working its way into the southern side of the county here, south of Sunfish along US 23. So this is going to be another area to watch. This is definitely some good potential rotation on the southern side of Pike County moving into the county, and one of just numerous starting to rotate thunderstorms that we're watching here this evening. We were worried about the risk that as we got into some of this more unstable air, we'd see more rotating thunderstorms, and we're certainly starting to see that here this evening. We'll lock in the Columbus radar again and take a closer look at the 2 areas of concern closer to us here in the city, including Fairfield County and Licking County, working into Muskegon County. We'll zoom into a couple of those spots as well. We'll start first down in Fairfield County over toward the Lancaster area. Again, could be some rotation in this portion of the storm. The good news is I think this doesn't look as good from a rotating potential perspective as what we saw just a little bit ago. This is starting to look more like strong winds. You can see those areas of outflow from the storm, so certainly going to be severe winds working through portions of Fairfield County, but nothing at the moment that looks as extreme as what we have just up the road. So that's what we're going to travel up the road toward Muskegon County, in toward portions of Licking County, really starting to make its way more in toward Muskegon County is this portion right here, where you see that strong area of rotation just along and north of Hopewell, where we're seeing the rotating part of this thunderstorm travel here this evening. Again, haven't heard of any confirmation with these warnings just yet, but we are seeing the signs on radar that the storms certainly are starting to rotate fairly strongly here this evening as well. We'll switch to a different couple radar views, see if we can get a better view into there. We'll go to Pittsburgh first. That's where we're kind of heading toward. You can see again up into the thunderstorm here, that rotation certainly being picked up on radar there. You combine that with another view, we'll knock down toward Charleston, West Virginia as well, and we're all seeing the same thing. Those greens and those reds right next to each other, that's where we see the rotating potential in these storms, and this is traveling into portions of Muskegon County right now, really crossing across the border, still rotating here this evening, still under under a tornado warning. I believe it was until 8:45 tonight as that storm moves off to the east.
Quick interruption to add some new information here. There was indeed debris reported in the tornado down south Adams County. That's the warned storm that is right now moving into Pike County. Debris and trees down in Adams County. Again, that's moving east, so some confirmed damage there. Also, a funnel cloud reported 3 miles west-southwest of Lancaster with that warned storm. That was about 10 minutes ago. That was a funnel cloud. No confirmation if it actually reached the ground. That's from a trained spotter, and that's just outside of Fairfield and Lancaster County.
So again, those are the storms that we've been tracking here this evening. If you were with us on 10 TV, we've been really following this since about 7 o'clock tonight. So we've got the storms kind of on lock as far as what we've been analyzing over the past couple of hours. So we've been watching the evolution from just wind and hail producing storms now to some rotating storms. And as Jerry was mentioning, I got to bend down here to grab the box down toward Pike County. But you can see here that tornado warning, as Jerry was saying, did produce debris over in Adams County. So this one does have at least some history of causing damage. Of course, the Weather Service will make the final determination whether that was tornadic debris, wind debris, what kind of damage they were causing out there, but would not be surprised to see this storm continue to produce something tornadic as it heads toward Pike County. As far as what we're seeing on the radar out there, this, I believe, is the Wilmington Weather Service radar. You can see certainly a big wind area inside this storm. I don't think this is the best view we can get down toward Pike County, so I'm going to go ahead and lock in Charleston radar here. It gives us a little bit better view. I would say that rotating portion of the storm right now moving very close to the southern side of Pike County. This is going to be crossing into the county here before too long. So if you are south of Sunfish, south of Hatch toward Camp Creek, this is going to be in your area pretty shortly. You can see it rotating down toward Mount Joy. It's going to be heading over toward Coopersville, Ohio 104, Sargent's, all going to be areas to see the storm. It's going to likely cross over at some point US 23, southern Pike County. So if you're traveling that way, maybe hold off just a little bit, wait for the storm to travel through, see what it does before we get heading that way, because again, it's been rotating. It did cause damage previously in Adams County, and it certainly could continue to cause damage here this evening as well. We'll go back to the regular radar and take the big view here across central Ohio. These storms, once we get past this round, Jerry, we're not going to be looking at an all-night affair, but before we do, certainly have heavy storms to travel through, certainly could see flooding in addition to the severe thunderstorms.
That's one of the things we talked about, Michael, is the potential for flooding on top of all the other variables that we're watching. An update on the good news sense is that from Logan County west, that tornado watch has been dropped. Still is in effect until 10 o'clock for much of central Ohio, including Columbus and points off toward the east, but west of Madison and Union County, that's coming down. So as we're still watching the very active weather right now, and we're seeing some improvement in the situation from west to east as we get through 9, 10 o'clock tonight. While we're on this particular frame, very easy to pick out where the threats are. Where the areas are shaded in yellow, we are still under a tornado watch. That goes until 10 o'clock. Clearly, the immediate threat as we near 8:30 on this Tuesday evening are a couple of areas in orange. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings around Fairfield County, Perry County, Licking County, and Muskingum County, and then down to the south, extreme southern Pike County, not just orange there, but also red. That is a tornado warning that goes until 8:45. This particular area of red, a tornado warning for Fairfield County, that is until 8:30. And this particular area around Zanesville, eastern Licking, and then Muskingum County, that is a tornado warning that also goes until 8:45. So if you are in those areas or those counties, if it looked familiar to you, we're going to switch it over to radar scan. It's something that might be a little more used to what you're seeing, and then put a track on each of those 3 discrete cells just to give you an idea of the location and the track that these storms are taking. So as we look at those storms again, moving in a direction about 30 miles, 35 miles an hour to the east, we'll take this northernmost storm first. This particular cell right now just showed some intense rotation, Michael, very quickly earlier this evening as we're tracking the situation on 10 TV Plus, and in a matter of moments popped that tornado warning for good reason. So if it's exiting Licking County, heading over towards Zanesville, 8:31, over toward Bridgeville, 8:42, New Concord, 8:52, Cambridge at 9:03, and then Wills at 9:17. As that that storm tracks toward the east. Again, that is mainly Muskegon County, but extreme southeastern Lincoln County still under the gun. A much smaller area that we're watching, and this one has an early report from a trained observer of producing a funnel cloud. This storm right now down in eastern parts of Fairfield County, that doesn't look quite as ominous, but still had some rotation. That warning is in effect for another 3 or 4 more minutes. So if you are in the area that is to east of that particular cell, that would be in and around New Lexington, headed over toward McConnellsville and Morgan County. That moving east at about 35 miles an hour. The particular towns around Junction City, New Lexington, Beerfield, and Durant, 833, 841, 854, and 912. In and around those towns and communities, this is your opportunity to seek shelter, and we talked about it before. It is not complicated. Just have to have a plan and enable that plan very, very quickly. Take your people and your pets and your papers and go to a safe place. The one other tornado warning that we're going to drop in on, that's in extreme southern parts of the viewing area. That includes Pike County right now. This storm has a history of a tornado making its way to the ground in Adams County, just to the west. This warning goes into effect until 8:45, and this tornadic warned storm will affect again the southeastern corner of Pike County. And that, again, is the threat we're watching. Michael, there's a new warning right now in northern Pike County. We'll get to that in a moment. But this particular cell, you saw Lucasville, Clifford, and Camba coming up, 8:32, Camba at 9:12, and Vega at 9:25. And give us a little more information on that new warning that just popped up northern parts of Pike County, Michael.
Yeah, northern portions of Pike County under a severe thunderstorm warning at this time. That warning goes till 9 o'clock tonight for northwestern Pike County. 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and some penny-size hail are possibilities with this thunderstorm. The wind threat, I believe, the bigger severe risk with this portion of the thunderstorm, but something we'll be watching carefully tonight. Also, the potential for hail inside some of these thunderstorms. We've certainly seen that issued across the region as well. So hail, wind, tornadoes, flooding, kind of the forecast we've been giving you for the past several days. What's playing out here across central Ohio tonight? I'll take a look inside this thunderstorm as well, show you where the hail potential could be coming down right now. Something called VIL in the meteorology world. You can just think of it as hail potential. Right now, I would say sub-severe here in Pike County, but certainly, as they were saying, could be penny-sized hail. That's about 0.75 inches in diameter. That's going to be traveling across US 23. So if you're in Lucasville, if you're in Waverly, if you're thinking about traveling north or south, put that off for a little bit. Wait for the storm to travel across US 23. Give it some time to get through before you head out this evening. We'll move further back toward the north and look at the hail potential in the severe thunderstorms that are exiting Licking County and exiting Fairfield County. These, again, could see some hail in there as well, but it doesn't look to be the biggest hail threat that we've seen across the region here this evening. We'll zoom into what looks to be the stronger portion. Much like radar, the darker, brighter the colors, the better the hail potential is. We have some hail potential there to the east of Baltimore, north of Rushville. That's going to be heading off to the east towards Somerset. South of Glenford, so watch out for some hail in here. This will probably be a little bit closer to quarter-size hail, maybe an inch in diameter, so that would be severe hail, but just on the low end of the hail potential. What we've really been watching has been that rotating portion of these thunderstorms as well this evening, so we'll check in on that as we head into the rest of this evening. We've watched that rotating part of the thunderstorm come out of Fairfield County in toward Somerset right now. Doesn't look to be rotating anymore. I'll move the map here just to get slightly better positioning on that cell down toward Lancaster, Bremen, Somerset. Again, this looks like damaging wind potential, severe wind potential. I would say probably on the order of 60 miles or less from what I can see here on the radar, but that would be an area to watch for severe thunderstorm winds in toward New Lexington as well. Up toward Muskegon County, that has been the heavier concern over the past several runs. I would say good news at the moment is that this, as we get further away from Columbus, not looking to be as strongly rotating, but we're starting to lose some of the lower level scans from the radar. So the lower you see in the cloud, the more likely you are to see the tornado, because of course the tornadoes happen close to the ground. That's where you want to scan. But the further you get away from a radar, the harder that is to do. So we'll switch to a different radar, see if we see anything concerning with this storm. We'll go to Pittsburgh first here. over in Muskegon County. Again, seeing those broad areas of rotation in that cell at the moment. We'll put the arrows back on the screen here just because that certainly does help see what we're looking at. The greens going toward the radar in Pittsburgh, the reds going away from the radar in Pittsburgh. So we are seeing that rotation in the sky still with this portion of the storm. We'll take a few more views here. Let's switch over to give Cleveland a check and see what that radar view looks like with this portion of the thunderstorm. Again, same idea, seeing that rotation happening in the storm, the greens going toward Cleveland, the reds coming away from Cleveland, and we're seeing rotation really in the same area that we were tracking as it traveled out of Licking County, now into Muskegon County, and we'll get a little bit closer in there and see if we can pop any of the roads and names on for areas that are going to be experiencing this. Of course, Ohio 60 there, Ohio 146. This is really going to travel near the Meadowbrook area. It's going to kind of in that no man's land where we're a little further away from the radar than we would like to be, so it's hard to pinpoint where the strongest rotation is actually concentrated, but really anywhere that you're seeing here on the map, I would say to the east of Iredell there, up toward north of Dillon Falls, North Zanesville, Drake, Ellis, all of this area here should be sheltering in their safe places right now for the risk that this storm could produce a tornado, if not has already produced one. Again, it's been radar indicated threats here this evening. We'll zoom out just a little bit more, show you what's in front of this particular cell here. It's going to be heading south probably of Rock Cut, but it's going to be close. Again, it's hard to get the closest view here. That scan there, I don't know if that's clutter or a stronger sign of rotation. It could really go either way, but certainly seeing rotating in that thunderstorm, I think it's probably more clutter considering that's embedded in the green, and that would correlate more with the red side of the storm. So I wouldn't be super concerned about it, but overall, Jerry, definitely still a rotating thunderstorm in Muskegon County.
Yeah, that's what you're just looking at. It depends on what your perspective is as you're talking about, Michael, but it does look like there's still some tight rotation there. And unfortunately, it looks like we're looking at some tighter rotation right now in Perry County. So if you can drop in to Perry County, that's just southeast of get to Central Ohio, just southeast of Licking County, northern Perry County. And in fact, they just have issued a tornado warning as I was saying that right now, and that is 4 areas in northern Perry County. And we've seen this happen at least 3 times so far this evening, where in a very quick time, matter of moments, that the tornadoes are forming and the warnings are issued. If you can zoom in on that, I'll give you a bit of an update there. Just crazy how fast things are unfolding this evening.
Yeah, so here's the warning inside there. It does look like it includes Somerset, just north of New Lexington, over toward Roseville area. So that's that part of that storm we were talking about earlier that came out of Fairfield County. So again, tracking it here this evening. You said new tornado warning with that storm. We'll see if we can get a good view inside there. Yeah, it does look like it could be spinning something up close to the Somerset area right now, Jerry.
Yeah, and that's the storm that we're watching very carefully. I was trying to find some immediate data on that, but I think just giving the opportunity for just to give a heads up on the folks and neighbors in northern parts of Perry County, literally right on top of Somerset, as you alluded to. That's a location that the storm seems to be cycling, not uncommon with storms as they have a hard time maintaining their intensity and integrity over long periods of time, but this one certainly has done just that over the past 60 minutes, and that's why we're seeing that rotation again right north of Somerset. So if you're Somerset, Cannon, Clover Hill, Seago, that is just east on 669, south of 22, in north, central, and eastern Perry County, this is your opportunity to seek shelter and do that immediately.
And again, it's kind of in that, what we were talking about just a little bit ago, that sort of like no man's area right there in between where we get good radar scans from any of the radar. So it's going to be hard to point out the exact strongest portion of rotation in that thunderstorm, but with multiple radars looking at these storms and being able to dissect the rotation in the atmosphere, that's where we do see these warnings come out for. And you can see the strongest area, just looking at the classic radar here, is moving through Somerset right now. It's going to be traveling off to the east-northeast. It's going to be toward the Fultonham area before too long. Likely going to travel north of Crooksville. Glenford, I would say you guys probably don't have too much threat from the stronger portion of this storm. Jerry, what was their speed with this?
That was 45 miles an hour to 45. The east, and that's a radar-indicated tornado. 45 miles an hour to the east, just over Somerset at that point, and then moving east pretty quickly.
All right, we'll get a little bit of space here, and we'll track that a stronger portion of the cell off to the east, 45 miles per hour. We'll put the storm cone on here and show you what's going to be in front of that here before too long, as that storm is going to likely travel also into Muskingum County, where they've already been dealing with one tornado warning north of Zanesville there. That's going to be in the Fultonham area by 8:43, Roseville at 8:47, Zanesville 8:55, Pleasant Grove by 8:59, and after 9 o'clock into the Bridgeville area, eventually over toward Rich Hill as well. So again, these storms tonight continuing to show these brief periods of rotation, and something that we just have to carefully watch as we move to the next few hours, Jerry.
You're right, and these watches and warnings, have been coming up and down very quickly at this time. If we can take a broader perspective, Michael, and just paint a picture, then we'll zoom into a couple of those. This particular map has been updated very frequently. Where you see the yellow, still under a tornado watch till 10 o'clock, but clearly the threat right now is east and south of Columbus. As we're looking at the areas in orange, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. The areas in red, those are tornado warnings. One in Muskingum County for about 9 more minutes, and then the one we're most concerned about right now, this is in central and northern parts of Perry County, and this one goes on until I believe 8:45 as well. So we've been seeing over the past couple of hours, actually tracking earlier on 10 TV Plus, minute by minute as the evolution of the storms move into central Ohio, but really within the past 45 minutes, several of these cells have just exploded and then shrunk and then exploded with their intensity. And that's why we're seeing some of these frequent spin-ups of tornadoes. So, Michael, if we could go into the storm and not necessarily dissect it, but just take a look. I know there's not a lot of population centers there, but certainly we've got viewers in northern parts of Perry County. And this would also be the second storm, if it continues, to move into Muskingum County, this time affecting a different area than the previously warned storm. So for a frame of reference, there's Somerset, the county seat. There's Glenford to the north, Junction City to the south. Right in between is where the weather is the worst and we're most concerned. If you live in Somerset or east of Somerset, these are the locations around Fultonham, around Crooksville that we are most concerned about. That's where we're looking at the greatest threat for a tornado. These storms, at least the ones to the south, have had a history of producing a bona fide tornado with debris and some damage. So these are serious indicators of tornadic thunderstorms, and that's why we're continuing coverage this evening. This time focusing on Perry County, and I think this storm is moving east at about 45 miles an hour. So even outside of that, as we stretch this into Muskingum County, there's Blue Rock, Brush Creek, Roseville, those areas east of Somerset, certainly an opportunity to seek shelter and stay tuned. Always can take your phone with you. If we're breaking into coverage, we'll be streaming on 10 TV Plus. It's a seamless way, without having to be connected to your television, that you can receive critical weather information. So you get a couple different ways to get that information. And the reason we're on TV this evening is because of repeated tornado warnings moving in and going through the area. Right now, again, the most recent one we're watching, this is central and northern Perry County. You saw that sweep going by. Where you see that deep red, that's the most intense part of the storm. That's right around Somerset. Not only are we talking about the potential for some extremely heavy rain and some large hail and gusty winds, this particular storm has the history of rotation going back to Fairfield County. Now it's in Somerset County and moving off toward the east. So that